Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Malak, and today I'm here to introduce myself a little bit. And by doing that, I'm going to use South Jersey line to point out some significant points in my life. To begin with, 1976 is when I was born. I was born in Port St. Joe, Florida. I lived with my grandmother and my mother in Apalachicola. It's a small town, northern Florida, probably about an hour from Panama City. 1979, this is when my mom marries my stepfather, Tim Johnson. We then moved to Destin, Florida, where I went into kindergarten, started elementary school. And we moved to Murphy, North Carolina, not long after we moved to Destin. I think we were there for probably about a year, to my dad's hometown, Murphy, North Carolina, and lived with my dad's parents for a little while. 1984, we moved to Hilton Head Island Beach. Very nice area. We lived in a condo. Then my sister Tina Marie Johnson was born, and so we ended up moving into a smaller apartment. And we didn't live on the beach like we used to. It was still nice. Then we ended up moving to Arizona in 1985, and I entered into the 5th grade by this time when I was in Arizona. 1986, my second sister, Casey Lee Johnson, is born. So this makes me have 2 siblings now. We moved back to Apalachicola. And when I entered into the 6th grade by this time, my family moved to California, but I stayed with my grandmother and my uncle for a little while to help out with my grandmother until she was admitted into a nursing home. And then my parents had me move to California. 1989, we moved back to Murphy, North Carolina. I finished up middle school. My grandmother passes away during this year, which was a sad time. And my parents decided to settle down in Murphy, North Carolina. They got tired of us moving around since I was starting school. Let's get ready for high school. Figured it was a good time to let me settle down and do school in one place. So I entered into high school. I get involved with cheerleading and track, which was very interesting. 1992, I start running cross country and track. I make All-State 2 years in a row while doing cross country. And I start receiving information from colleges about scholarships and scouts that were looking at me to come run for their school. I start working full-time during the summer. In the Haynes contract, I was the Haynes Inspector number 12 on the sweatsuits. I get my driver's license, a few wrecks under my belt. I got my first car when I was 17 and totaled it on my birthday, the night of my birthday. And I start working after school at KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then I quit KFC and become a McDonald's employee. Drive-through window, I was an expert. 1994, I graduated from Murphy High School. I received a scholarship to High Point University, and I turned it down so I could go into the military, and I joined the Army and became a 93 Papa, which is a flight operations specialist. Flight operations specialist is someone that tracks the helicopters in the military, sort of similar to the air traffic controllers that you have at the airports. We were responsible for tracking their flights, the pilot's flight pay, and the crew chiefs. And we also were in charge of the gas cards, the keys, and so on. 93 Papa, in addition to that, we also work in the battalion, which is more of a staff job in training, schools, and ammo and supply. After basic training and MOS training, I got stationed in Germany for my first duty assignment, and this is where I met Tom Malak, who was a crew chief for Big Windy, which are Chinook helicopters. And in 1995, Tom and I are married on Labor Day in Denmark. That's where we went to Legoland. We were married at the Rad House, which is similar to a courthouse here in the States. I received a promotion to E4, and we moved into a little apartment downtown, Hubelstock. It was a nice apartment, just the walls are really, really thin. There was soundproofing there, but it was nice. 1996, I give birth to a beautiful baby girl named Misty Sierra Malak. During this time, Tom deploys to Hungary. He's gone for about 6 months. He returns, then I'm deployed to Turkey. Turkey. We were both ended up deployed to Bosnia. So as you can see, our trend in our marriage was kind of one in, one out, and then we both ended up being deployed to Hungary and Bosnia. And then my daughter she had to go to live with my mother in the States, approximately for about 8 months. And 1998 is when we got to move back to the States. And then we were stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which is Clarksville, Tennessee, but on the border of Kentucky. This is where we buy our first house in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I received promotion to sergeant, which is an E5 in the Army. 2000, I completed a total of 6 years with the Army, and I got out of the Army and started working with Corporate Express in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a supply company similar to Staples, Office Max. But I worked in their headquarters divisions as a bids and specialist. I worked on the contracts for the sales reps and set up their promotions in the computer systems. Tom gets ready for flight school. He's going to decide to fly helicopters now instead of crew chiefing on. So he heads to Alabama at Fort Rucker for about a year. 2001, we go through a rough patch and we end up going through a divorce. So this sets me up to decide that I need to either stay in Clarksville, Tennessee, or where my daughter and I are going to live. So I decided to pack up and move to Atlanta, Georgia, because a friend of mine had a mother who worked as a recruiter at a place called Georgia Pacific, which I never knew that Georgia Pacific was the one that makes your Dixie products and your toilet paper that you use. And I ended up taking a job as a staff assistant, and I was in charge of the supplies and their procurement program and office moves and keeping the floor updated. Then, in 2006, I received a promotion to executive assistant, and I moved to a little town called Billerica, Georgia, which is about 30 miles or so from downtown Atlanta, I-20 west, so I'm close to Alabama border. I received the promotion to executive assistant to start working for a VP in the IT department, which is information technology. And I worked on the enterprise IT services group, assisting approximately 15 managers and all their direct reports, and handling day-to-day business of a floor of 200 or more employees. Now, I'm working to finish my degree in hopes that that will give me something to look forward for the future, to buying a house and a job change. Not sure what kind of job I'm looking at right now. Still got my options open, and once I receive my degree with CSU, I hope to be able to have more options. And I would like to buy a house to have my daughter and I to settle down, so when she starts high school, I'm not moving her around so she doesn't go through the same trend that I'm going through. So as you can see, I've had a pretty good journey so far, and I have quite a ways to go still. Thank you.